hello! You don't know me and I don't know you, but that's why I'm here for, or rather, I just came up with an idea that I had now for a very long time and I just wanted to share it. It's, well, as you can clearly see about Genshin Impact, and we now just only have the pyro characters here, and before Nod-Krai arrives, I just wanted to share this idea that I had. I also have this posted on AO3, Archive of Our Own. You can find the link on my channel, and I hopefully, if I don't forget, post it also under this video as well. Also, if you look at my description on my channel, I'm not, well, no, sorry. English isn't my first language, so if I make any mistakes, you can feel free to correct me in the comments. And also, disclaimer, this is still my own opinion of some characters, but this isn't really going to be a tier list of like what character I like the most and don't. But if things like that come up, just know that if I like a character very much and you don't like this character, that's fine. Or if you love a character very much and I hate this character, then that's also fine. Everyone has their own opinions. So the idea I came up with is like, we all have these characters in Genshin Impact and they all have their element. So what if like we do it a bit like Avatar, when every person who has the same element lives on like in their own region? And I came up with this idea that what if those regions were like elemental islands or something like that, like on the big sea or something like that. Maybe someone already came up with that idea. I don't know, but I just wanted to share it because why not? Also, I already have an idea how I will put Nod-Krai as an island in it, but on that note later. The little idea that I summarized in a very short story on Archive of Our Own, you can go and check it out there and read it there if you find it, is basically you have these 7 islands with their Archon and all the people on it, and I made a little hierarchy which I will put the characters in this tier list on. This is why I have the tier list here right now. Oh yeah, and also a side note, you can also find a playlist on my channel where I put every single demo, or also, well, now they're called trailers, for the Genshin Impact characters, and also some fan-made demos, because I wanted to include every character, and Hoyoverse didn't do a demo trailer for every single character, so yeah, you get what you give. No, you get what you get, whatever, however that is called. And there I like organized them. You can also find the description to it in the, well, playlist description. But now let's just start with the tier list. And very basic, at the top of the tier we have the Archon, which is basically, well, the Archon of the island and also the element. And also like the symbol, because for Netland, for example, we have like, it's the nation of war. So that I would say is the symbol. Next we would have the head of the city. So basically head of Mondstadt, for example, which would be Jean. Now that we saw Varkar in the new Nod-Krai teaser trailer, oh yeah, heads up, I might say some spoilers for the game, but I would reconsider that because I saw that Varkar has an animo vision and it has like the Mondstadt golden thing. Every vision has like its own style depending on which nation they're from, and Mondstadt has like those little 3 fingies at the bottom or something like that, and I think I saw it on Varkar. So even though now I'm gonna put Jean at the head of city of Mondstadt, in the future when I update that on my on Archive of Our Own, Varkar is gonna be the head of the city, and Jean is gonna be the thing that's gonna be the bee here, the next thing here. Which is, of course, the deputies, and those are leaders of some sorts, or also helping the head of the city out in various ways. So that would be Jean, because she isn't the Grandmaster, she is only like one thing under that, you know what I mean. So she would go in this category. Then we would have the protectors, and those are the people who are basically mostly fighters, but also people who like protect the city in, like, for example, supporting them with expeditions, or I don't know, something else, just something that they do to provide the city with. And lastly, we just have the citizens, the people, well, villagers who live their daily life, doing their everyday jobs. And those are basically the categories I came up with for this, my little fan fiction of mine. And now we will categorize each one of them. And we will, of course, start with the Pyra Island. So, of course, Mavrika is the Archon there. And I could argue that she could also at the same time be the head of the city, because she basically, well, functions like that. But you will later see on the other islands that I try to find a person that isn't the Archon for head of the city. For example, for Liyue, for like, yeah, the Geo Isle, I will say that Ningguang is the head of the city, but Zhongli, or rather Morax, is still the Archon. So I am trying to find a person that like meets the criteria of, oh, this isn't a person that has the magical, the holy abilities of an Archon, but is like, yep, we are doing this with this, that does the things with the city. You know what I mean. I'm sorry, English isn't my first language. I am just trying to make it accessible more to everyone. You can also see now that I changed it to head of Netland, because this is the Pyro Island. And you could argue that, okay, why I am putting Bennett there right now, I'm not keeping it, but I just want to put it out there because with the recent trailer of what we got, what we will get in the next patch, which is like also the little prelude for Nod-Krai, we saw with the Mare Javari, the constellation of Bennett hanging up in the air, and something like that. And there is also a theory going out that Bennett could be originally from Netland. So, like, that would be funny to see if I would put him as the mayor of Netland. But for now, he would be a citizen. But we aren't there yet, so I'm just gonna put him back real quick. Oh no, sorry. Bennett would be a protector, but we will come to that later. So next we would come to the deputies, which first would be Diluc. I would put him there. I mean, yes, you could technically see him as a citizen of Mondstadt Gist, but he has like his whole wine industry, and in his little description in the like character screen, it clearly says that like he's some sort of king having all these connections, and that makes him some kind of leader. So I would argue that he would go into, oh wait a minute, I wrote deputies wrong. Sorry about that, but yeah, that's why I am putting Diluc as a deputy, and who's also a deputy is Arlecchino, because she is some sort of a leader, I would argue. She has like this whole orphanage, and yes, she's one of the Fatui, and being one of the Fatui harbingers, I wouldn't like to say that it's like, oh, they have to be a deputy because they're one of the Fatui harbingers. But I wouldn't say that's always the case. I mean, here it is, but we'll see later with child, for example, that I'm going to put him somewhere else. And the last deputy for the Pyro Island is Toma, because he serves the Kamisato family, and he is like the maid. Everyone's saying he's like the maid for them. So he would be also like the maid for Mavika, or even for Alekino and Diluc, if you want to imagine it like that. And then next we would have the protectors, which of course would be first sorry for pronouncing wrong, if I'm pronouncing wrong. Because, well, she's basically, she protects the merchants, and whatever job she gets, she's a mercenary, so why not? Also, I'm sorry if I say something wrong, lore-wise or anything, but I am playing this game for over 5 years now, so it would be pretty embarrassing if I get something wrong. Next I have Amber, because she's the, how's this called? You know what I mean? Because she goes out to like kill all the villagers and all that. So I would argue that she's one of the protectors. And now we also put Bennett here, because he's in the Adventurers Guild, and everyone who's in the Adventurers Guild is, in my book, one of the protectors. So now everyone who's left. Of course, Chevreuse is also one of the protectors, because she's, that doesn't need any explaining, I would say. And then we see the rest of the characters. I won't count the travelers, because this is a fanfiction that I would like to do without travelers. Maybe you could do something that they come to this world and they see all those islands and yada yada, I don't know. But for now, I only have it like this. And now we would do, the next one is the citizen, Jiangling. What does she do? She has a restaurant. She just cooks. The same with Jinyan. She's a little rock star in Liyue. Then we have the funeral director, Hu Tao, Yan Fei. I'm looking at a list at another screen, so don't mind me if I take a little longer. Gaming, Klee, Linny, you could argue he could be a deputy as well, because, well, Alekino, you know. But for like the naked eye from the other citizens, he just appears as a simple magician. And in the story, you also get to know later, through a little twist, that he actually is also one of the Fatuis. But for this, he just is a citizen. And the last person, Yoimiya, just making fireworks. So that will be the first tier list for the Pyro Island. And if you have a question why I organize it like that, like for example, why is Klee not in front of Jiangling, even though Mondstadt is the first nation we come across, I have a little order that I made it like in rainbow colors. So like Netland comes first, which is why we have the Pyro Island first. Then I go with the Geo Island, then the Zumero Island, then the, let me look here, the Animal Island, the Cryo Island comes then, and then the Hydro Island, and at the last, the Inazuma, Electro Island. And what I will do with Nod-Krai? Well, you will have to find out when I update my little story and archive of our own. Now we have the Geo Island, and don't worry, this time I will speed up the process. So the Archon is obviously Zhongli, but Morax, Rex Lapis, and you will see that in my playlist, because I actually put Zhongli's demo in the citizen category, because he, disguises himself as a human and steps back from the Archon duty that he does. So you would need to put Morax or Rex Lapis in this spot and Zhongli in the citizen spot, but because I don't have Morax Rex Lapis here, I'm gonna put him in the Archon spot in this tier list. And next, the head of the city, just as I said earlier, is of course Ningguang. For now, we only have one deputy here, which is Navia, because, well, she is the leader, well, a sort of leader of her, like, own organization. For the protectors, we quite have a few, which is Kachina, Jelone, Noel, Albedo, and Goro. And Kachina's whole story, basically, in the first two Nodlan Archon Quest, I would say, are basically that she wants to be a fighter and go to the Night Warden Wars and all that stuff, although she could arguably be a citizen. Also, by the way, if you say, I don't know, if you see that someone should be in a different category, you can also state that in the comments. If you think that a character should go into another category, or, well, I basically just said that, but you know, something like that. If you have a different opinion on this or something, I won't change what I did for myself as this order, but it's interesting to see if people have different opinions. If, I don't know, Kachina should be in Citizen or rather than in Protectors. And I put Jelonen in Protectors because, well, she is like the blacksmith, I could say. And that is basically protecting people because she does forge weapons. And that is like, you know, you get those weapons to defend the city and fight with. So I would argue that she should go into the protector category. Noelle tries to be one of the Knights of Favonius, so she basically has a similar story like Kachina. Albedo is also part of the Knights of Favonius, which I I knew that he was part of the Knights of Favonius, but I forgot what kind of position he has until I was reminded in the recent Mondstadt Archon quest with Durin, you know, so I had to change that. And Goro obviously goes also in the Protectors category. And then, of course, the citizens are just Yunjin, Arataki Ito, and Chiori. And that's basically for the Geo Island. And now for the Dendro Island, and I probably also should have said that in the beginning. I'm sorry, but this is my first time, so I quite am nervous. But my name is KJ, Kreativjägerin. Yes, that sounds very German. I know, it is also German, so yeah, there you have it, just say whatever, man. So we're starting. Of course, Nahida is obviously the Archon. I put Alhaitham as the head of the city there because, well, he denied the position of a Grand Sage, but like he's qualified to do so. So I would argue if we're only going by playable characters who have a vision, that I would put Alhaitham as the head of the city, or well, head of Zumero. Oh no, I should have wrote head of Liyue in the Geo one, and here, oh my god. So I hope I won't forget it in the future. So now, as you can clearly see, this is the Dendro Isle. No, you didn't skip anything or anything like that. I just already put it together to make it quicker. So the deputy there would be only one deputy for now, Tainari, because, well, he is a forest ranger and he knows all kind of things of plants and flowers and all that stuff. And I would argue that, well, Nahida is the Archon of Dendro, and that is all nature and all of these things. So while Alhaitham is like able to be a Grand Sage, Tainari has more knowledge of more the nature things. So I would say that he could go into the deputy category. God, I'm so sorry. Protectors. I put Kinich in Protector because he is a Saurian hunter, while on the Dendro Island that wouldn't make very much sense. I'm not sure if the little Dendrosaurians would live on the Dendro Island or if they would live on the Pyro Island because of Natlan. But you could say that Kinich could hunt like the wild animals on the Dendro Island, and that could be still a thing. And because he's hunting wild animals that are dangerous and could hurt people, he's protecting the city in a kind of way. And now you might argue, why did I put Yao Yao and Kale as protectors? Well, Kale is trying to be is in training for a forest ranger, and Yao Yao is also in training. Although those two are still kids, we need more protectors. Come on, we just need more protectors. So I just put them there because they're all like in training, and that sort of implies that they're gonna be protectors of some kind or something, you know? And then, of course, the citizens, Baiju, Kaveh, Emily, and Kirara. And that's for the Animal Island. I have no idea what happened there. And also, you can see Yume Mizuki isn't on this list for some reason. But she would go in the citizen category. For, well, the Archon is obviously Barbatos, but the same with Zhongli. Venti would go into the citizen category, but for now I just put him here, so it looks better. The head of Mondstadt is currently Jean, but just as I said earlier, once Varka gets released, he's gonna take that position and Jean's gonna go down to the deputy, so Sayu won't be alone. And Sayu is also, working for Kamisato Ayato, so I would say that she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, that she's helping, you know, him with those little matters. So she would help Jean and in the future Varka. And then we have the two protectors who are just Chaska and Jiao. I don't think I need to explain Jiao, but Chaska, she is a peacemaker. And that does fall under the category of like protecting the city, I would argue. And then we have a bunch of citizens who are Aoife, Jianyun, Lanyan, Faruzan, Wanderer, Sucrose, Lynette, Kadehara Kazuha, and Shikanoin Heizo. And of course, Yume Mizuki, but she isn't on this list. And that's for the Cryo Island. We don't have the Archon yet, we don't have a head of Snezhnaya yet, because that will all come after Nod-Krai. So that means we can only start at the deputies, which are Sidlali, Ganyu, Wrightley, and Kamisato Ayaka. Those are all some leaders of some sorts, and Sidlali especially has like the job of advising the chief, so I would say that counts as a deputy. Also, she's, like, Granny eats Lee and almost everyone fears her, so, like, why not? Also, Ganyu helps, like, Ningguang with all the stuff. And, Wriothesley is the Duke, a fortress of Meropide, and, of course, Kamisato Ayaka. And the protectors are then Kaya, Yula, Mika, and Aloy. I know, Aloy. But you could argue that while she only might be a citizen or not even on this list, I can understand it if you don't want to have her here, I see her as like, I don't really played Horizon, but I only saw like the beginning of the story, and like it's very much about survival, so she could like help in the protector side of things, because she's like good at hunting and stuff like that, and as we established previously, being a hunter could count as being a protector. So yeah, I would argue to put her there. And then we of course have so many citizens again: Changyun, Gigi, Shunhe, Layla, Diona, Rosaria, Fremine, Charlotte, Escoffier, I can never pronounce her name, and Skirk. And while Skirk is an unique one because she doesn't really have cryo, she just disguises her powers as being cryo. In the game, it still counts as cryo, so yeah, why not, like, you know? So, but she would be a citizen because, she appears and disappears whenever she wants, so she would house at like the Cryo Island, but I guess she wouldn't stay there all the time, but she would be counted as a citizen, I guess. So that would be the Cryo Island. And that would be the Hydro Island. So of course we have Farina as like the Star Archon. And of course Neuvillette would be the head of Fontaine. The deputies would be then of course Yelan, because she's some sort of agent working for Ningguang. Then we have Dahlia. He is like the deacon of the church of Mondstadt, and although that could still be like citizen, he is some sort of a leader, because he is like, well, the church in Mondstadt is like the main thing, and it's like the almost most important thing there. So I would argue that he could go under deputy, same as Sangonomiya Kokumi. She's also a leader. And, well, of course, Kamisato Ayato. And then the protectors, Jincha, Candice, Child. Well, he is one of the Fatui Harbingers, but he is he loves to fight, like, very, very, very much. So I would argue that I could put him in the protectors category, because he then would have things to fight. Or you could put him as in the citizen, because, well, yeah, you know, Neuvillette and him have their, but like, okay, this fanfiction isn't really like, this isn't really like canon, so you wouldn't need to watch out for if Neuvillette and Child would get along. But for now, I always had it that Child could be a protector, so if you have any other idea, you can of course state that in the comments. And then for first citizens, we have Mualani, Nilu, Barbara, Mona, and Seedream. And that's for the Hydra Island. And that's the Electro Island. We of course have the Archon, which is Shogun Raiden, but, well, more like Beelzebul or also Baal. And for the head of Inazuma, I actually have it that the puppet Shogun Raiden is the head of Inazuma, but also that Inazuma has like 2 head of the cities, and the second one is Kujo Sarah, because as I stated in the beginning, I wanted it to be like that we have an Archon and a head of the city, which would be Kujo Sarah, but because Inazuma, well, Shogun Raiden has it a bit... Oh, sorry, Raiden Shogun. Sorry, I used the German pronunciation, I'm sorry. But Raiden Shogun has it like that, well, she made a puppet of herself and she left that to guide the city and all of that, so that the puppet could be the head of Inazuma, and when there are like less pressing matters or something like that, that Kujo Sarah is like the second mayor of like Inazuma. You could argue that Kujo Sarah could be also just a protector, because that's basically her job, but I wanted it to put her there. Well, also because I like Kujo Sarah, but yeah, you can have it your way if you want it differently. So for the deputies, we then of course have Kujin Cephos, because he now became a leader of some sorts, and Yaemiko. Yaemiko, you could also argue that she just could be a citizen, but I kind of wanted it to be like, well, she's very close to Raiden Shogun, or well, and that because of that she could be a deputy. Well, she is like big shrine maiden thing going on, and that's very important to the city, so I guess that's what could make her the deputy. For the protectors, we of course have Sino, Fischl is in the Adventurers Guild, and of course Clorant. And then we just have the citizens, which are Auroron, Yanzan, Varessa, Beidou, Dori, Lisa, Razor, and Cookie Shinobu. And for Yanzan and Varessa, yes, they are pretty much fighters and would go under the protector category, but that's not like what they, I would say, live for, because they do also have their normal jobs. I mean, Yanzan is a coach, and Varessa has like her whole farm going on. And you also notice Morlani, for example, I also put just in the citizen category because she is a guide, like a tour guide. And I know Natlan is like the nation of war and all of that, but I did not want to put everyone in the protectors category because it would be a little bit boring and like, well, where's the... Yeah, you know what I mean, I hope. But those were all of the tier lists I made, the little story I created. Let me know what you think of that, and I'm also very sorry because this was very messy and all over the place. This is my first time doing something like this, and also you probably noticed that I have an accent. I hope that didn't bother too much. Also, if I said something wrong or pronounced something wrong or even get the law wrong, that would be very embarrassing, but that still might happen. Or has happened in this video, whatever. And yeah, and otherwise I hope that it was still fun in some sort of way. And those are all the tier lists. If I made any writing mistake, I hope I didn't, but yeah, that's it for this little video. Well, not little, I guess. We have a very long time now, but